Hello everybody, this is Refresh, and I am here to bring you a battle between the Ikoria Commander decks and the Defeat a God Challenge deck from Journey into Nyx. We have assembled here Timeless Wisdom, Symbiotic Swarm, Enhanced Evolution, Arcane Maelstrom, and Ruthless Regiment. We'll be using the secondary commanders for each of the decks in this particular case, and we'll be playing 2 games, first on normal difficulty with 3 Rollicking Throngs, and then on hard mode. For these games, we'll be using 3 hero cards. We have the Explorer, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. The Vanquisher, which says your starting hand size is increased by 1, your maximum hand size is increased by 1. And the Harvester, which says tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. We'll go ahead and get started by drawing our opening hands. Swarm draws Exotic Orchard, Soul of Innistrad, Skullwinder, Plains, Nyx Weaver, Revelark, Commander Sphere, and Martial Impetus. Because Exotic Orchard is basically a dead land in this particular game, we are going to mulligan this one lander. Alright, we have a Titanoth Rex, Nyx Weaver, Plains, Soul Ring, Sungrass Prairie, Gavany Township, Aerial Responder, and Slippery Bog Bonder. We are lacking one of our colors of mana here, but I think because we have a Soul Ring and we have the ability to cast a lot of what we have, then we will keep this particular hand. And because this is multiplayer, we get 1 free mulligan, so we won't have to put anything on the bottom. Maelstrom draws a Harrow, Predatory Impetus, Island, Jin Illuminatus, Frontier Bivouac, Growth Spiral, Psychic Impetus, and Rupture Spire. This is not a great hand because we have a couple dead cards here. But I think we're going to keep this on the Hope to ramp with Growth Spiral and Harrow. Regiment draws a Nomad Outpost, Skull Clamp, Garna, the Blood Flame, Ambition's Cost, Sylvar, Devourer of the Free, Increasing Devotion, Windbrisk Height, and Citywide Bust. We have 2 lands, both of which are tapped lands. We don't really have much that we can play out of this hand, and so I think we might actually mulligan this and hope to draw better. Regiment draws a Terminate, Vigilante Justice, Heirloom Blade, Frontier Warmonger, Command Tower, Captivating Crew, Sylvar, Devourer of the Free, and Titan Hunter. We have 1 land, which is definitely worse, and so we're going to mulligan this and hope to draw better. Now we have a Mountain, a Plains, Fireflux Squad, Evolving Wilds, Molten Echoes, Frontline Medic, and Temple of False God. This one's a little heavy in lands, but you know what? I'd rather have this than what we had before, so we'll keep this particular hand. We'll stick a Plains and put that on the bottom. Evolution draws a Shriekmaw, Crozen Grip, Dreamtail Heron, Forest, Dismal Backwater, Lifecrafter's Bestiary, Cavern Whisperer, and Mind Spring. I don't think I like this hand that much because the Force into Dismal Backwater is kind of bad, but I think because that gets us at least 3 mana, hopefully the Lifecrafter's Bestiary can get us to scry into what we need, so we will keep this. Wisdom draws a Drakehaven, Akroma's Vengeance, Forgotten Cave, Soul Ring, Ash Barrens, Spirit Karn, Savai Thundermane, and Reconnaissance Mission. I don't love this hand, but I think I'm going to keep it because we can land cycle the Ash Barrens away for the basic land that we need, and hopefully that will get us started and get us into it. Swarm draws a Swamp, Maelstrom draws a Forest, Regiment draws a Sanctuary Lockdown, Evolution draws a Llanowar Wastes, Wisdom draws a Plains, Swarm will play a Plains and a Swamp. We'll tap the Swamp to cast a Soul Ring. It's an artifact, you can tap it for 2 colorless mana. Arcane Maelstrom will play a Forest and an Island. Ruthless Regiment will play a Plains and an Evolving Wilds. The Evolving Wilds is a land. You can tap it and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Go ahead and tap and sack it to go grab a Swamp. Evolution will play a Forest, and then we'll play a Dismal Backwater. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You can tap it for blue or black. Go up to 41. Wisdom will play a Plains. We'll tap it to cast a Soul Ring. We'll tap the Soul Ring and basic land cycle the Ash Barrens. It's a land. You can tap it for colorless, or you can basic land cycle it for 1. We'll go ahead and grab an island, and we'll put that in our hand. Then we'll play a Forgotten Cave. It's a land. It enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for red or cycle it for red. Then we'll pass to Xenagos. There is a chance that Xenagos could kill us with the right cards in the first turn. So if any card should kill us in this turn, then we will mulligan that particular card, and then we'll go back to regular casting everything in the future. So here we go. Xenagos casts an impulsive charge at the beginning of combat this turn. All revelers gain haste until end of turn and attack this combat if able. And we'll also get a Xenagos' Scorn. Xenagos Ascended gains trample until end of turn, attacks this turn if able. So everybody is going to be attacking us for a total of 9 damage. We don't really have any way to mitigate this, so we'll take 9 and we'll go down to 32. At the end of Xenagos' turn, we'll use the Harvester. Swarm draws a Vampire Nighthawk, and we will discard the Nighthawk because we don't have a way of casting it. Maelstrom draws a Nibless of Frost, and we will discard the Psychic Impetus. We'll also tap the Island in the Forest to cast Growth Spiral. It's an instant. It says draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. We'll draw a card. It's a forest, and we'll put the Frontier Bivouac onto the battlefield. It's a land, and it's a battlefield tapped. You can tap it for green, blue, or red. Regiment draws a Windbrisk Heights, and we will discard the Fireflux Squad. Evolution draws a Pouncing Shore Shark, and we will discard the Mind Spring. Wisdom draws a Gabby Nest Warden, and we will discard the Akroma's Vengeance. We'll untap. Swarm draws an Ever After. Maelstrom draws a Teamer Charm. Regiment draws a Banisher Priest. Evolution draws a Blighted Woodland. Wisdom draws a Valiant Rescuer. Swarm will play a Gavany Township. It's a land. You can tap it for colorless or pay 2 green, white, tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. We'll also play a Sungrass Prairie. This is a land. You can pay 1 and tap it to get green and white. We'll tap out using the Soul Rings mana to power the Sungrass Prairie. That should get us all the colors we need to cast an Aerial Responder. That's a 2/3 Dwarf Soldier with Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. And a Nyx Weaver, which is a 2/3 Enchantment Spider with Reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. You can pay 1 black, green, exile it to return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Maelstrom will play a Forest and a Ruptured Spire. This is a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1. You can tap to add 1 mana of any color. We'll tap the Forest to save it. Then we will tap 3 mana and cast Harrow. This is an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a land. You can search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. We will sacrifice the Forest. We'll go searching for a island and a mountain. Here's our island and our mountain. We'll shuffle. Regiment will play a mountain, and we'll play a Windbrisk Heights. This is a land. It has Hideaway. You can tap it for white. You can pay white and tap it. You may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if you attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn. We'll hide away. We have a Battlefield Forge, Garnet the Bloodflame, a Mountain, and Boros Garrison. We'll take Garnet and we'll put that in exile. Then we'll tap 3 mana and we will cast our commander. This is Kelsien the Plague. He is a 2/2 legendary human assassin with vigilance and haste. It gets +1/+1 for each experience counter that you have. You can tap it to deal 1 damage to target creature you don't control When that creature dies this turn, you get an experience counter. Evolution will play a Blighted Woodland. It's a land. You can tap it for colorless. You can pay 3 green, tap and sacrifice it to search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. We'll also play a Llanowar Waste, which is a land. You can tap it for colorless, or you can tap it for green or black. It deals 1 damage to you. We'll go ahead and tap the Waste for black, dealing 1 damage to us, taking us down to 31. Tap the Forest, tap the Backwater for blue, and the Blighted Woodland to cast our commander. This is Zaxara, the Exemplary. It is a 2/3 legendary Nightmare Hydra with Death Touch. You can tap it for 2 mana of any one color, and whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, create a 0/0 green Hydra creature token, then put X +1/+1 counters on it. Play an island, then we'll tap out. We'll cast your commander. This is Akim, the Soaring Wind. It's a 3/4 legendary bird dinosaur with flying. Whenever you create 1 or more tokens for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. You can pay 3 blue, red, white for creature tokens you control to gain double strike until end of turn. We'll go to Xenagos' turn. He'll untap. Cast the top 2 cards. The first one is Dance of Panic. It's an enchantment. As long as 5 or more revelers are on the battlefield, all revelers have haste and attack each turn if able. We'll also cast an Ecstatic Piper. It's a 2/2 Satyr Reveler. When it enters the battlefield, Xenagos Ascended attacks this turn if able, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. Xenagos Ascended will attack this turn because he is able. We're going to let this one hit us, and we'll take 6 to go down to 25. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Swarm draws an Avenging Hunt Wanderer. We'll discard the Ever After. Maelstrom draws the Rugged Highlands. Discard the Predatory Impetus. Regiment draws an Increasing Devotion. We'll discard the Increasing Devotion. Evolution draws a Villainous Wealth, and we'll discard the Villainous Wealth. It's probably the least useful of these. Wisdom draws an island, and we will discard the Thundermane. We'll untap. Swarm draws Akroma, Angel of Wrath. Maelstrom draws Tribute to the Wild. Regiment draws Riders of Gavany. Evolution draws Command Tower. Wisdom draws an Arcane Signet. The Nyx Weaver will also mill 2 cards. Swarm mills a Forest and a Sandstep Citadel. Swarm will tap and cast their commander. This is Tayam, Luminous Enigma. 3/3 legendary Nightmare Beast. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional vigilance counter on it. You can pay 3, remove 3 counters from among creatures you control to put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then return a permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard. Maelstrom will play the Rugged Highlands. It's a land, enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life. You can tap it for red or green. We'll gain a life to go up to 26. Then we'll spend 4 mana cast Niblis of Frost. This is a 3/3 spirit with flying and prowess. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. We'll then tap this for green and this for whatever, and we'll cast a Tribute to the Wild. This is an instant. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact or enchantment. That'll trigger the Niblis of Frost, making it a 4/4, and we'll tap a creature. Xenagos will sacrifice the Dance of Flame, and we will also tap Xenagos, and Xenagos cannot untap during the next turn. Regiment will play a Temple of the False God. This is a land. You can tap it for 2 colorless. You can activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. We have 5 lands, so it is active, giving us 6 mana to work with. We'll spend 4 mana. Cast the Riders of Gavany. This is a 3/3 human knight with vigilance. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Human creatures you control have protection from creatures of the chosen type. We'll choose the Reveler type. Evolution will play a Command Tower. It's a land. It taps for 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. I think we might actually have this, but just in case, we will spend 3 mana. Cast a Life Crafters Bestiary. It's an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay green. If you do, draw a card. Wisdom will play an island. We'll tap the Soul Ring to cast an Arcane Signet. It's an artifact. You can add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Then we'll tap out. We'll cast Gavi Nest Warden. This is a 2/5 legendary human shaman with you may pay 0 rather than pay the cycling cost of your first card you cycle each turn. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 red and white dinosaur cat creature token. We'll pay 0 to cycle the reconnaissance mission, which is an enchantment. It says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and cycle it for 2. We'll draw, we'll get a Tectonic Reformation, and then since we drew our second card, we'll create a 2/2 red and white dinosaur cat creature token. And that will trigger Akim, which will create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. We'll go to combat. The aerial responder will attack the ecstatic piper. The Nyx Weaver will attack one of the rollicking throng. Kelsien will tap to deal 1 damage to finish off that rollicking throng and will get an experience counter, making Kelsien a 3/3. Zaxara will attack the rollicking throng and will kill it because it has death touch. Akim the Soaring Moon will attack the rollicking throng and will kill it because it's a 3/4. This will kill the entire host here. The ecstatic piper will get us 10 life, and then the aerial responder will get us 2 more life to take us up to 38. Xenagos has no more revelers on the battlefield, and so he's vulnerable. We'll tap the command tower and the dismal backwater for black to cast Shriekmaw. This is a 3/2 elemental with fear. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. You can evoke it for 1 in black, which is what we're doing. This will sacrifice, and we will target Xenagos. Xenagos is destroyed, and the Ikoria commander decks defeat Xenagos on normal difficulty. We'll be right back for hard mode. It's time for hard mode. We have 4 rollicking throngs assembled here, and we'll go ahead and get started by drawing our opening hands. Swarm draws Archon of Valor's Reach, Forest, Majestic Miriarch, Sakura Tribe Elder, Swamp, Aerial Responder, Plains, and Grizzly Salvage. Having everything that we need means that we should keep this hand. Maelstrom draws a Desolate Lighthouse, Paco Arcane Retriever, Island, Commander Sphere, Talran Sky Summoner, Harrow, Rupture Spire, and Forest. I think we have enough to keep here as well. Regiment has a Command Tower, Audric Master Tactician, Alessia Who Smiles at Death, Painful Truths, Knight of the White Orchid, Sylvar Devourer of the Free, Swamp, and Outpost Siege. I don't like that this is really short on lands, and so I think we're going to mulligan this and hope to get a better hand. Now we have a Disciple of Bolus, Parasitic Impetus, Temple of the False God, Shared Animosity, Garna the Blood Flame, Magus of the Wheel, Path of Ancestry, and Sanctuary Lockdown. We functionally only have 1 land here, and so I think it's better to go down to 7. Alright, now we have a Path of Ancestry, Mountain, Exotic Orchard, Fumiko the Lowblood, Alessia Who Smiles at Death, Windbrisk Heights, Rakdos Signet, and Unexpectedly Absent. I think this is finally a hand that we can keep. We'll take Exotic Orchard because it's useless and stick it on the bottom. Evolution draws a Forest, Mindspring, Bonder's Ornament, Chittering Harvester, Swamp, Insatiable Hemophage, Island, and Capricopian, which I think has all of our land colors, some ramp, a thing or 2 that we can cast. I think we keep this. Wisdom has Gavi Nest Warden, Lightning Rift, Azorius Chancery, Valiant Rescuer, Fierce Guardianship, Arcane Signet, Migratory Road, and Lonely Sandbar. This is pretty bad when it comes to lands. One of them comes into the battlefield tapped and the other one bounces, and so it's going to slow us down in terms of our mana, although the Arcane Signet does make up for that, so I think we're going to keep this just because of the Arcane Signet. Symbiotic Swarm draws Ikoria Lair Scavenger. Maelstrom draws a Glade Muse. Regiment draws a Boros Garrison. Evolution draws a Manascape Refractor. Wisdom draws a Mountain. Swarm will play the Forest and the Swamp. We'll tap both of these and play the Sakura Tribe Elder. This is a 1/1 Snake Shaman, and you can sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Maelstrom will play an Island. We'll also play a Ruptured Spire, pay 1 using the Island. Regiment will play a mountain. They'll also play a Path of Ancestry. It's a land. It enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scribe 1. Evolution will play a forest and a swamp. Wisdom will play the Lonely Sandbar. It's a land that enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for blue or cycle it for blue. Then we'll play the Xyris Chancery. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you return a land you control to its owner's hand. You can tap it for white and blue. We'll bounce the Lonely Sandbar back into our hand. We'll go to Xenagos' turn. As before, if Xenagos should be able to defeat us using both of the cards that they cast in the first turn, we'll go ahead and mulligan whatever card would defeat us. But other than that, here we go. Xenagos casts a Ferris Band Revelers. This is a 4/4 Centaur Reveler with Hero's Reward. When it leaves the battlefield, each player draws a card. And then we have an Impulsive Charge. So these will all be attacking. We will take 4 from the Rollicking Throngs. We'll block the Ferris Band Revelers with the Secure Tribe Elder, and then we'll sacrifice it to search our library for a basic land card, put it onto battlefield tap. Go ahead and get another Plains. We'll go down to 36. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Swarm draws a Swamp, and we will discard Ikoria, Lair Scavenger. Maelstrom draws a Soul Ring, and we will discard Paco, Arcane Retriever. Regiment will draw an Ambition's Cost. We'll discard the Ambition's Cost. Evolution draws Ukima, Stalking Shadow, and we will discard the Mind Spring. Wisdom draws an Agitator Ant, and we will discard Fierce Guardianship. We'll untap. Swarm draws a Swiftfoot Boots. Maelstrom draws a Charmbreaker Devils. Regiment draws a Temple of the False God. Evolution draws a Forest. Wisdom draws a Boon of the Wishgiver. Swarm will play the Plains and the Swamp. We'll spend 4 mana to cast our commander. Maelstrom will play the Forest. We'll tap the Forest to cast a Soul Ring. We'll play the Desolate Lighthouse. This is a land you can tap for colorless or pay 1 red blue, tap it to draw a card, then discard a card. We'll spend 3 mana to cast the Commander Sphere. This is an artifact. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. You can also sacrifice it to draw a card. Then we'll tap 3 more mana to cast Blade Muse. This is a 2/4 beast, and whenever a player casts a spell, if it is not their turn, that player draws a card. Regiment will tap both of these to cast a Rakdos Signet. This is an artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it for black and red. Then we'll play the Boros Garrison. This is a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. You can tap it for red and white. We'll bounce the mountain back into our hand. Then I'm going to play the Windbrisk Heights, do the Hideaway effect now. We look at a Bloodfell Caves, a Battlefield Forge, a Skull Clamp, and a Swamp. We'll go ahead and take the Skull Clamp and we'll stick this under. And we'll take the rest and put it on the bottom. Evolution will play a Forest and an Island. We'll tap out and we'll cast our commander. Wisdom will play the Mountain. We'll tap the Xyris Chancery and the Mountain to cast the Agitator Ant. This is a 2/2 insect. At the beginning of your end step, each player may put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature they control. Goad each creature that had counters put on it this way. We'll also play the Lonely Sandbar again. We'll go to our end step. Tayam will get 2 counters to go up to a 5/5. Blade Muse will get 2 counters to become a 4/6. Zaxara will get 2 counters to become a 4/5. The Ant will get 2 counters to become a 4/4. All of these are goaded, so they must attack next turn. We'll go to Xenagos' turn. He'll untap. Cast the top 2 cards. The first one is an Ecstatic Piper. And we also have an Impulsive Charge. Everything is coming at us. We'll block the Ferris Band Revelers with the Glade Muse. Tayam will block one of the Rollicking Throngs. Zaxara will block one of the Rollicking Throngs. And the Agitator Ant will block the Ecstatic Piper. That will kill all of them. We'll take 8 damage to go down to 28. These will die. We'll gain 10 life to go up to 38, and we'll draw a card each. Swarm draws a Selective Adaptation. Maelstrom draws a Decoy Gambit. Regiment draws a Verge Rangers. Evolution will draw a Forest. Wisdom draws a Remote Isle. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Swarm draws a Plains, and we will discard the Swiftfoot Boots. Maelstrom draws a Predatory Impetus, and we'll discard the Predatory Impetus. Regiment draws a Flawless Maneuver, and we'll discard the Verge Rangers. Evolution will draw a Reclamation Sage, and we'll discard the Manscape Refractor. Wisdom draws a Martial Impetus, and we'll discard the Martial Impetus. We'll untap. Swarm draws a Forest. Maelstrom draws a Chaos Warp. Regiment draws a Cavalry Pegasus. Evolution draws a Thornwood Falls. Wisdom draws a Reconnaissance Mission. I think we already have the win in hand, so we'll go ahead and go to attacks. Tayam will attack one of the Rollicking Throngs. Glade Muse attacks another Rollicking Throng. Zaxara will attack the first Rollicking Throng. Ant will attack the second Rollicking Throng. This will overkill both Rollicking Throngs. With the Throng off the battlefield, Xenagos is vulnerable, and so Arcane Maelstrom will spend 3 mana and cast Decoy Gambit. It's an instant. For each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature that player controls, then return that creature to its owner's hand unless its controller has you draw a card. We'll target Xenagos Ascended. Xenagos Ascended leaves the battlefield, and the Ikoria commander decks defeat a god with some relative ease. I think the life buffer of being a commander deck at 40 life does make it a lot more able to handle the Xenagos, who can sometimes outright kill 20 life decks, but I'm glad to see that they were able to survive. Let me know what you thought about the games in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching it, and I will see you next time.